For today's video, I'm going to be talking about what mold toxicity is, some of the symptoms, causes, and how it's diagnosed. Because if some of you might know, I am dealing with mold toxicity. I've been dealing with health issues for about a year now, and I just found out that I do have mold in my body. So if you're not really completely sure what mold toxicity is when health issues arise due to exposure to mold and mycotoxins. Certain species of mold produce mycotoxins, which can cause health issues when they get in your body. That is what I have been dealing with. But you might be wondering, okay, but how does mold or mycotoxins get into your body in the first place? What exactly causes mold toxicity? Well, it is simply just being exposed to mold that produces mycotoxins. This could be breathing in the air. This could be living in a space that has mold. And mold is not always visible. Mold can sometimes be behind the walls. You could get it in a variety of different ways. You could be eating food that has mold that you don't know about. But I feel like for the most part, it comes from being in a building or a house that has mold. And this could also come from water damaged buildings or houses. It could also be in your washer. For example, I think the main issue for me is that we had a lot of mold build up in our front loader washer in the rental that we're at, and I'm pretty sure that there has been mold from the start of when we moved in the washer. Front loaders are very prone to mold buildup, so if you have a front loader, that's definitely something to be aware of and keep an eye on to make sure that mold doesn't build up. So that is basically how you can get mold toxicity, being exposed to it, breathing it in. So then let's talk about the symptoms. So mold you can get so many different symptoms from mold. There can be mystery symptoms, and not everybody is going to have the same exact reaction. So it's possible that you could be living in a house with other people and you could be the only one who is getting symptoms. So for example, my husband hasn't really had any issues. He'll have some coughing here and there, but he hasn't really thought much of it. But me, I've been having all these health issues. I have been having terrible pressure in my ears. I've gotten TMJ issues. I've just gotten all of these issues. I get a stuffy nose. I get headaches. I'll get dizzy sometimes. I just get all of these different symptoms that he's not really having. And I think I've found that just from the research that I've done, it sounds like women are almost more susceptible to having issues with mold. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting. But other symptoms are fatigue, brain fog, feeling like you don't have much energy. There's just so many different reactions. You could get skin reactions. You could get breakouts on your face or on your body. Just all sorts of different reactions you can get from mold, and it's not going to be the same for everybody. So just because one person in your house is having issues and then somebody else in your house isn't having issues, it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily mold. So basically what happens is when mycotoxins get into your body and you're exposed to mold for a long period of time, it causes long-term inflammation in your body, and that's what causes all of these health issues to happen. And mold can really wreak havoc on pretty much any system in your body. So that's why these symptoms are just kind of all over the place, and there's so many different symptoms. And it can also depend on the type of mycotoxin that you're being exposed to. How exactly is it diagnosed? So to actually get diagnosed to see if you have mold in your body is a mycotoxin test, and then another test that you can do that can also be helpful when you are trying to heal from mold toxicity is an OAT test, which stands for an organic acids test. A mycotoxin test is going to be exactly kind of what it sounds like. It is going to be testing to see what mycotoxins you have in your body. And then an organic acid test, that is going to basically check for fungal overgrowth in your body. That can be a result of being exposed to mold. If you want to figure out if you have mold in your house, some things that you can do, because mold again is not always visible, it could be behind your walls. Something that you can do is an ERMI, which is a test that you can actually order online, and you're basically taking some swatches of walls, vents, maybe like your washer, not directly on any visible mold, but just areas in your house where you suspect that there might be mold. And then you can send it to the lab, and they'll give you results in a couple of weeks. It kind of gives you an idea of if there is mold in your house, what specific strains of mold are in your house. But ERMI is just kind of like a starting point if you're kind of wanting to figure out if you might have mold in your house, and then based on those results you can kind of maybe look further. Also, if you really feel like you do have mold in your house, you could skip that test and you could just go to straight ahead, just like hiring a mold inspector. But specifically, you want to hire an IICRC certified mold inspector, because any other mold inspector is not really going to know exactly what to do. They might not really know what they're doing, and I've been told that by my functional practitioner that unless they have that certification, they don't know what they're doing. So we actually did have a mold inspector come in and check the water damage that happened, and he said that there was no mold. Because he said that there wasn't, he went up in our attic, he said there wasn't any mold at the source where the water came in. But to me, I was a little suspicious about that, because I wondered, well, couldn't it be behind the wall? Because isn't the circulation different? So anyway, we're going to be getting an IICRC mold inspector to come in and just double check to make sure. We're thinking that the mold may have just been from our washer, because it was very visible there. So we're thinking it may have just been from that, but we do want to make sure that I'm not still, and that we're not still being exposed to mold. So we're going to have that checked. So that is something that you can do, is just hire a mold inspector. And then of course, if you want to figure out if it's in your body, or if you do hire a mold inspector and you confirm that you have mold in your house, or you do the ERMI and you do confirm you have potential hazardous mold in your house, then you might want to go the next step and figure out exactly what is going on in your body, exactly what mycotoxins are in your body, so that you can then get help to heal. So for ordering a mycotoxin test or an organic acid test, conventional doctors don't do this. They just don't. If you go to a conventional doctor and you talk about you're worried about having mold in your body, then they're probably just gonna go send you to an allergist and tell you to get tested for a mold allergy. But mold toxicity and a mold allergy are not the same thing, so that is just not helpful at all. So if you want to get actually tested and figure out what's going on, you need to go through a functional practitioner. So that's what I did. And I actually first ordered the mycotoxin test through an integrative health practitioner, and I ordered the Mosaic Diagnostics mycotoxin test, but then I ended up seeing a functional practitioner and I got additional testing done. I got the organic acids test done. She actually told me that she prefers the mycotoxin test from a Vibrant Wellness, because it actually tests for more mycotoxins. So my mycotoxin test, I did do a video about this, but basically my mycotoxin test that I got done, it showed that I have high ochratoxin A, which can really affect any and all of the systems in your body, so you can get all sorts of different symptoms. But because I got the Mosaic Diagnostics of the mycotoxin test, they don't test for as many mycotoxins, so my functional practitioner told me that I likely have even more mycotoxins in my body, but that test just didn't show it. When I do retest for mycotoxins after my 4-month healing protocol, just to make sure there's not any left in my body, I'm going to be doing the Vibrant Wellness mycotoxin test. But then for the organic acids test, that one is through Mosaic Diagnostics. That is the one that my functional practitioner recommends. She said that one is best for the organic acids test. So that's what I did. If you want to hear a little bit more about my results and all of that stuff, then definitely check out my other video where it's titled I Have Mold Toxicity. I talk about my results in that video. And I'm going to be sharing my whole journey with mold toxicity and healing from mold toxicity here on YouTube. So if you are interested in following my journey, definitely make sure that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I post new videos. So that is basically how you can confirm if you have mycotoxins in your body. Now the organic acids test is a little bit different as far as what information it gets. Both of these tests are urine samples that you do at your house, so it's really easy. It's not like a blood test, it's not like a hair sample test, it's just a urine test, so it's really nice and easy. What the organic acid test does is it actually, so it can show fungal overgrowth in your body that can be a result of being exposed to mold, and it specifically assesses metabolic pathways to give insight into gut health, neurotransmitter levels, and potential toxic exposure. So that is what that test does. But both of those tests, both the mycotoxins test and the organic acids test, are both really helpful in figuring out what is going on in your body and what you need to do in order to heal. And my functional practitioner gave me a 4-month healing protocol to help me detox from mold. So I'm currently just starting that. If you want to see my journey with that and all the things that I'm doing, then definitely make sure to keep an eye on my videos and check out my mold toxicity playlist. But that is it for today's video. I hope this was helpful and gave you some information about mold toxicity and what to do if you think you suspect that you might have mold toxicity. If you do have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you're not already subscribed and you want to see even more content from me in the future, then I would absolutely love it if you would go ahead and subscribe to my channel. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you tune in for my next video.